Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live from via SHR Media and live from Cape May County, New Jersey. And also I have my co-host here, Denny, called Denzel, who literally has been quiet for the last 3 hours and Not even kidding. I always have my dog in studio with me. He's literally been quiet all this time, and the second I play my opening, he decides that he wants to start talking. So I apologize for that. I'm sure that he will stop momentarily. But my guest for the first hour today is Nicole Middendorf. She is a CEO of Prosperwell Financial, and she's going to talk to us about love and money, which I'm very excited to talk about because I think, many divorces take place because of money. Many couples argue over money, and it can just be a serious hot mess. So I'm super excited to have her on the show today. I'm very excited about that. So I'm excited about that. It's a hot topic, and hopefully everybody, I'm using some new technology today, so I'm hoping that everybody can see and hear my guests, and I know that my regulars will tell me for a certainty if they are not able to hear the both of us, but it seems like everything is working fine. At least it looks like it is. But let's get to some Money Talk news. Lots actually going on in the news today. We almost went to war. Well, not war, but we started there was going to be a little scuffle in Iran, and the market seemed to be unaffected by this, which I found to be a little bit on the strange side. We ended a little bit down, but we're up for the week, and oil went up drastically. So I thought, wow, so what that says to me is that people are confident that we're going to work this out. But the fact that we were that close to doing a strike within 10 minutes, and, it just made me think about the power of the presidency as well. Just thinking, how many casualties are going to be, 150, and we were 10 minutes, 150 people were 10 minutes away from losing their lives on one person's decision. Our vote's just really important, gang. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Who we picked to be for president, and he just thankfully he decided not to do it. So I'm very glad to hear that. In the jobs market, surprisingly, and I don't really. You're supposed that there's all these laws against discrimination, but according to the latest U.S. jobs report, there's still lots of bias. There are tons of young adults that are unemployed, but also there are apparently older Americans are most likely to be stuck in long-term joblessness, which means that there's lots of bias going on in the market. I hear people talk about this all the time, especially older people, how they have a hard time finding a job. I'm going to be 49 in September. And when I was looking for work not too long ago, I thought that might be part of the issue. So I actually cut my resume down, and I started getting a lot more feedback when I cut my resume down. So I know that to be true. Unfortunately, I don't look my age, so I think I can get away with it. I did. I was at one job for 14 years, and I took my master's off, and I cut about 8 years off of my first job. I was there for 14. I think I cut it down to 5. Because I was afraid that people would look at my resume and kind of figure out how old I was, and that would be an issue. So there's still, and according to the U.S. jobs report, there's still lots of bias going on, and that is definitely not good news. Walmart, and I'm usually kind of a fan of Walmart. I did a report when I was in school on their business model, and it's admirable, which is why they're so successful. But they just got hit with a big fat old fine, $282 million, because of foreign corruption. Apparently, the Securities and Exchange Commission didn't have them dead to rights, but there was sufficient enough evidence for them to be charged and for them to be fined. And, a fine like that, you're not going to fight in court because they're just going to spend more money. But that's a huge fine, and they must have known that they were doing enough damage that they were going to go ahead and pay it. But yeah, $282 million fine. And this is specifically doing business in Brazil, China, India, and Mexico, according to the Securities Exchange Commission. That is crazy. So we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to talk about love and money with Nicole Middendorf from Prosperwell Financial. I can't wait because I think it's a very hot topic, and I think it's a lot that there's probably going to be a lot to talk about. I know I had tons of arguments with the person who is now my ex-husband. And money was definitely an issue, so I cannot wait to ask Nicole lots of questions. This is Nicole right here. Hopefully you guys can all see her well. Nobody has said that they could not see her, so I'm very excited about that. I want to give a shout out before I go to commercial break real quick to Ron Edwards, fresh out of Facebook jail and having a very happy birthday. I hope you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Right now, you can get the credit you deserve. Just visit MrCreditRepair.biz. Let their expert credit repair specialist remove late payments, charge-offs, collections, even old bankruptcies fast and easy. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Why go anyplace else? Increase your credit score today. At Mr. Credit, you always get a quality service, all at our everyday discounted price. Stop getting turned down for cars, credit cards, or even new homes. Visit MrCreditRepair.biz today. That's MrCreditRepair.biz. Your credit repair is our number one priority.
Making a living can be tough these days with so many jobs going overseas. If you love numbers and puzzles and want job security, you can become a tax specialist with an amazing 6-month tax course from Tax Mama. Operate your own tax practice locally or anywhere in the world where there are American taxpayers. It's a great way to write off your trips to visit family for months at a time. Everything you need to pass the IRS 3 special enrollment examinations is included in this course. Visit irsexams.school. And if you need more than 6 months, that's okay. Take your time. You're in the course until you pass the exams or until you unsubscribe and reject Tax Mama's emails.
The government of the United States was designed by the founding fathers to be of, by, and for the people. When it comes to Congress, that is officially no longer the case. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, we know that Congress is supposed to govern on behalf of the American interests and represent you and I. Unfortunately, Democrats and Rhino Republicans no longer are of the mindset to place American interests above those of illegal border crossers, Sharia law promoters, enemy nations, etc. That is why Nasty Pelosi's and others like Representative Tlaib of Michigan would rather destroy America from within than work with President Trump, who has set out to help America first. To add insult to injury, Congress only works a fraction of the time that President Trump does. And when they are in the nation's capital, they spend the majority of their time undermining Trump, studying reparations, or promoting ideas that would further destroy our unalienable rights, while groping for high pay raises. Since Congress rarely governs on behalf of we the people, wouldn't it be nice to rarely pay them? I'm Ron Edwards. Join me Fridays live on AmericaMatters.us at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And Saturdays, 8 to 10 a.m. during the Abolitionist Roundtable on AM 1600 WAM Radio, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Welcome back to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I have with me today a very special guest, Nicole Middendorf. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yeah. Excellent. I'm very glad. I'm very excited to have her with us today because we're going to talk about love and money today. A little bit about Nicole. She's an author of the book, Who Pays? Navigating Love and Money. I say the guy pays, but that's the...
always on the first date. Always.
That's right. I like it. As well as Lipstick on the Piggy Bank, a wealth advisor divulges the secrets every woman should know about happiness, money, and independence. I love it. I'm hearing feedback from somewhere. I hope I can get rid of it. I'm working on it. Breaking the glass ceiling, simple questions. Simple questions. Life is more than just about money, and the $1,000,000 question. So, without further ado, Nicole Middendorf, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you today. I apologize for the feedback. I'm trying to figure out where it is coming from, and I can't seem to nail it down. Do you hear feedback on your end?
I don't hear it, but I've seen some of the comments that they say it's a
The-
little echoey.
Oh, okay. I will try to nail that down and see if I can get rid of that. In the meantime, actually, let me try this.
I brought up, okay, we don't have college education in your financial plan. Like, your kids are now getting older. Like, what's your thoughts? And she's like, well, we're paying for all of it. And he's like, whoa, 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 we're not paying for all of our kids' college. And here they are in my office. They're like, they never really had this conversation where he believes the kids should have student loans and she believes that they should fully fund their college. And so that's where many times, one of my best tips is to have a money date. And maybe that money date needs to be in a public place for the first time, if you haven't had this before, but that you're sitting down once a month at a minimum and having a conversation about money. And that can be anything from credit cards to insurance to your 401k to your investments to life insurance to property and casualty to what do we do with our house? Do we remodel? What do we do with our kids? All of those different types of things. The conversations are endless related to money, so that you're having that conversation and that you're not just assuming what your significant other wants or is thinking.
And you can never assume what your significant other is thinking.
No.
I've been down the aisle twice.
Oh gosh.
I learned that never assume what your partner's thinking. How's it? because I used to, when we got in arguments, I have like this 3-time rule. I'm going to articulate my position 3 times, 3 different ways. And if I'm not going to divorce you and we still don't agree, then I'm just going to let it go. Well, my ex thought that meant he won.
No.
And I was still mad. It was like, no. So after a pile of those, you're in divorce court, and he's like, I didn't win? No, no one wants to end up there. When do you recommend that first money date happens? Like, at what point in the relationship?
Well, you don't ask for someone's credit score on the first date.
That's not sexy.
But I generally talk about relationships are in phases. And so most of the time, for most people, when they hit like that 6 to 8 month range that they've been dating exclusively for 6 to 8 months, now every relationship is different. Some people move faster, some people move slower. But generally about that 6 to 8 month range is where really you should start to have some of these conversations about money. Because many times people I have found don't talk about it at all. I mean, I'm a certified divorce financial analyst, and I've helped people through their divorce, and then 2 years later, they come into my office and they're like, yeah, here's my new, husband, or here's my new fiance, we're getting married next week. And I start asking some questions, and they don't know the answers. And so how can you get married if you don't know someone's credit score? Or how can you get married if you don't know their financial situation? Because you really want to make sure that you're understanding who are you getting involved with, because whomever you're getting involved with affects your own financial situation.
That makes a lot of sense. I apologize. I went away for a second there. Okay, and now I'm coming back.
Do we lose you?
There's a little bit of a delay. I apologize. So I didn't think I was coming back, and I was, and I was. I'm sorry about that.
I love the comment 6 to 8 days. No, I don't. 6 to 8 months. Even though, being a financial advisor and a single woman for many years, if I were to go on a rare date, I do obviously talk about money too much.
And they're like, okay. So is the guy like,
I get the word all the time that I'm too intimidating, so that's why I don't date.
We could start a club.
Yes.
Because I've heard that one too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's exhausting.
It is. You just can't. But I mean, what are you supposed to really do if that's your personality?
If you're intimidating?
Yes.
Run with it. It's just like, so I joke, I get asked so many times, why are you single? And one, I have 2 kids that I have 100% of the time, and I have a business. I own my commercial building. And so I went and I decided that I'm going to buy a Peloton bike. And so that's my boyfriend. And I'd rather spend time with my business, with my kids, with my friends, or with my family, or on my bike. Because none of them are going to tell me that I'm intimidating. that word.
It really is tough. I think that's a tough part of dating and having your own money.
Yeah.
It, why do men, in your opinion, find that intimidating?
I think it comes from how we were all raised, that men are supposed to be the providers and that men are supposed to be in charge and in control. And so, out of the men that I have dated, there is one man that made more money than me. And with all of them, there haven't been many, with all of them, I've never had an issue with it, but they have. And I do write in my book about, okay, so how do you get around that? How do you navigate that? And so what I have done, and the advice that I give is, so I book the trip. I would, book the flight, book the hotel, and then we would go on that trip, and then he would pay anytime we go out to eat, all of the activities, any of those other things, so that in the public eye, it was looking like he was paying for everything, but yet in the private, I was then feeling like I was contributing, and also, not that it was somewhat of an equal financial relationship.
Yeah, I
Maybe you start with an attorney, but you start with someone, and maybe it's even a family member, but you start with someone that can help mediate and help you have those conversations about money so that you can figure out where you are and have a financial plan and get on the same page. Because now fast forward, this couple, they're racking away at this debt, and they have a financial plan, and their relationship is so much better. And it's not just because it's about the money, but it's because they're communicating with each other, and they understand where each other's coming from.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you ever find yourself in a situation where people are literally on the brink of divorce and you have to do what you just did?
Yeah, I mean that was one of them. There's a handful. I mean, the stories are endless, really. I mean, there was one that he had always managed the money, and what would happen is they would rack up credit card debt, and he felt like she was the one racking up credit card debt. She would rack up credit card debt, they'd refinance, and then they'd get in the same spot 2 years later, and they'd refinance again. And then they did it again. And so he finally was like, I'm done. I can't manage our money. And so they came to me. They're a really good friend as a client. And so they both came to me and they sat down. And their homework from our first meeting was she needed to go home. Well, they both needed to go home. But she needed to go home and grab a glass of water and take her credit cards and put them in the glass of water and put them in the freezer. And then they needed to start their budget. And so we then worked on a budget. And she had this attitude. She made more money than him. And so she felt like they had enough money to retire because of the dollar amounts that were in their investments. But at the rate she was spending, if you have millions of dollars, it doesn't matter. If you're spending $500,000 a year to live, your millions, it's not gonna last very long. But she just had this flippant attitude, like, wow, and she only made like $20,000 or $40,000 more a year than him. They both made significant amount of money. But she had this attitude, she's like, well, I made more. But he was spending a lot, she was spending a lot, but they both really weren't on the same page. And so we came up with a budget, and now they have a plan. She's actually retiring in a couple of months here. And so it's just, it's a cool success story, which I'm just honored and blessed to be a part of.
That is so funny. And I think what happens is, at least I do some financial advising as well. And what I find is people who have more money are in the most financial trouble.
Well, and I would also say a lot of them are unhappy. Studies show that, it doesn't matter, once you make more than $75,000, or once you make $75,000, it doesn't matter anymore. Like how, if you make $5 million or $500,000 or $150,000 a year, it doesn't matter. Once you hit that threshold of $75,000, more money isn't going to bring you happiness. Because at $75,000, that's where you can live a relatively comfortable lifestyle within the choices that you're making. And so many times people feel like, oh gosh, I just have to have more money. More money isn't going to bring you more happiness. It's just going to bring you generally more complicated situations or more complicated scenarios. And it's, bottom line, if I'm just like everyone else. If I have money, I'm going to go spend it. So you've got to have a plan for the money that you do have and be very thoughtful and be very conscious with where you're spending your money. Too many times people are very unconscious with their thinking of their money, and that is what happens really in their relationship. It's just if you have children, your life is so busy and you're just go, and it's like, okay, let's pay for baseball, and we're paying for dance, and we're doing all these various things, and oh my gosh, our neighbors just took a trip to Disneyland, so we had to do that. This whole Instagram world that we're in, I don't know if you heard, but a new report just came out this morning that wedding prices are going up. And that the average wedding now was for years, the average having to have, just who can outdo the next wedding. And it's, I don't want to say because of social media, but we live in this world that we have to make our life and make everything look perfect, and to be better than the next person. And so because of that, we're spending money, and how are we really being happy when we're just trying to show some fake life that we're really not living, or really that's not true to our values and truly what's important.
I don't really get that, and I never have. I've had 2 weddings, as I've mentioned. And both of them were small, because I was like, we could spend that money on a house. We could spend that money elsewhere, and I could care less.
Spend it on the trip, spend it on the honeymoon. Why would you spend it on one big party?
Makes no sense. Never got it.
Right.
Didn't spend a lot of money on my dress. My ring. Well, okay, he spent a lot of money on the ring. The ring was nice.
That's the other thing that the study that came out talks about. The younger generations now feel that, so for years they were saying the engagement ring, like how much should you spend? And most of the time it was looking at 6 months of your income.
3 years of your income.
I had a client call me once. It was super cute. He's like, he was getting engaged. He's like, so what do you think? Like, what should I spend? What's recommended? And he's like, I found this ring and it's $24,000. He's like, is that okay? And I said, well, okay, I'm going to answer in 2 ways. One, if you were proposing to me, I would know your income. That's cheap. I said, but you're not proposing to me, and I'm not, your sister. I'm your financial advisor, and as your financial advisor, $24,000 sounds amazing. Because he was making like $480,000 a year.
Yeah, he's
high income. But the new study that came out talks about millennials. They want their engagement ring to cost between $100 to $1,000.
What is wrong with them?
And they want to spend all this, and it really does come down to, studies show if you spend money on experiences, you're going to be happier than if you spend money on things. And so now the engagement ring price, or the money that you're spending, has gone down, and they're spending more money on the wedding. They're spending more money on that experience rather than the ring that they're wearing, which I find fascinating.
I will say that when I found out what my husband paid for my ring, I was mortified. And it was only $16,000. And I was like, what?
Why did I say no?
Yeah. I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought it was ridiculous. He was like, do you like your ring? I was like, well, yeah. I didn't find that out till a couple of years we were married, how much my ring cost. Yeah. But
it doesn't matter the amount of money. What matters is, that you're getting what you really love, and what's, what does it mean to you, and do you really love it? But people sometimes get wrapped up so much in the cost of something. But
he cared more than I did about the size of the diamond.
Yeah.
Whether or not I said white gold or platinum, because I wear sterling. He went with platinum. Fine. But I thought that was an outrageous amount of money for jewelry. It was like,
I was prepared to buy my own ring.
I said, I have Tiffany pieces that cost way less than that. So I just thought it was ridiculous, but I hear what you're saying. Now, we talked about the dating. We talked about when you're in a relationship, when a woman makes more money than the man. And you mentioned someone who, the man managed the money. Is it good to have one person manage all the money, or 2 people manage separately? Like, what's the best formula?
Well, I really believe that, if you have a 401k plan, you should manage your 401k. And if your spouse has a 401k plan, they should be managing their 401k plan. But you need to come together to say, okay, how does this all fit together with our financial plan so that you're looking and working together as a unit? And the reason is because women, we get touted that we're more conservative. And we do generally tend to be more conservative investors. So, one, you may not want to be as aggressive as your spouse, or maybe you want to be more aggressive than your spouse. And so, your own investment accounts, you should be managing on your own. But if you have joint accounts, or when you're taking those own individual accounts and putting them together to say, okay, what does retirement look like? Or our kids' college, what does that look like? Do we have enough? When are we going to retire? All of those types of things. You want to make sure that you're managing them and talking together and working with your financial advisor, or having one person look at the whole big picture.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, do women, you said women are more conservative investors, but are they better at managing money in general?
Yes, we are more conservative, but yet Goldman Sachs did a study that they compared men's investment accounts to women's investment accounts, and the women on average earned 5% more than men in the investment accounts. Now, my question is, did they have a male financial advisor or female financial advisor? I don't know, they didn't study that. But we as women, we tend to be more conservative, but yet we have better performance in our investments.
I like that. What about the budgeting, spending situation? Like when you're a couple, I feel like women spend more, but they do most of the shopping.
I mean, especially if you have children, that's where the moms tend to be the ones that are paying for the kids' activities or buying them all their clothes or all of those types of things. And so that's where when it comes to the spending, and I hate to stereotype, but in general, the men tend to be looking more at the insurance and the investments and the overall, the 529 plans and all of that stuff. And the women tend to be looking more at the day-to-day cash flow and how are things working so that you're making it on a budget basis. But that's where it's so important to have the money date so that you're coming together, and if one person's handling the day-to-day cash flow and the other person's handling the longer term, that you're coming together so that you're sharing, here's your information. I mean, think of it like, I hate to say this, but think of your relationship like a business. Okay, so you have the marketing department, and then you have the technology department. And then you want to make sure that those two departments are working together, that they're not working against each other, so that you're getting to your ultimate goal or you're accumulating whatever you want to in your life. And I also am a strong advocate that when you have like checking accounts or if you're using online accounts or whatever, that you have your own money, that you can go out and buy that pair of shoes, or you can buy that golf club, or that you can go out with guys, or you can go out with the gals, that you don't have to come home and answer to, you bought X, Y, and Z, or, oh, how much did you spend today? That you don't have that guilt. I mean, women in general have too much guilt already, but that you aren't criticizing each other of what you're spending.
I agree.
No, I always suggest giving a dollar amount. And so, that when you're in a relationship, that that he is not going to go out and spend more than $500 without talking to you, or $1,000 or $100, it doesn't matter. Come up with a dollar amount that fits within your own budget and within your own financial situation so that you can be on the same page.
I like that idea. That's a good suggestion. One time someone I was dating asked how much it costs for me to maintain.
Yeah. You're like, that's okay. I'll take care of it myself.
Well, that was my response. Was like, you're not going to be paying for it. You don't want to know. Trust me. Right, just trust me. You'll never have to pay for it. And you don't want to know the number. So, just no. I won't ask how much you spend on whatever it is you like to spend on. Don't ask about this. Because there's some things that need to remain secret.
Well, that you have your own space, that you have control over something that is more personal to you.
Exactly. But that really upset him.
Literally take out your girlfriends or go shopping or buy yourself a new dress, or that you don't have to have that you aren't having to feel like a child when you go home.
And nor should he. I agree with that completely. Where can people find your books, contact you, follow you on Instagram? Please tell the audience.
You can go to prosperwell.com or it's NicoleMiddendorf.com. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're everywhere.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. I have to bring you back.
Yeah, the echoing's actually gotten worse over time.
I noticed that too, and I don't know why.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. I apologize for the technical difficulty. The technical difficulties. Now it seems to have gone away. I wonder if it's because the sound was coming through her, through to her, and it was doubling back. But I will definitely fix that. I apologize for that. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to end the show early tonight so I can fix my technical difficulties. I appreciate everybody who hung in there. I believe that the podcast, when I post it, will not have those issues because the audio is different. So if you want to re-listen to this, I think she gave us some really good information, and I'm excited that I had her on the show. That's just good stuff. The power of negotiating and staying in your own space. I just thought she gave us some really good information. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties and for my co-host barking at the beginning of the show. For everybody, for those of you in SHR Media Land or listening via download, if you're not watching streaming live on Facebook, people who are streaming live on Facebook are getting a good look at my new pupper who has not learned that he needs to be quiet during my show yet, and literally was quiet the whole time I've been home, and then didn't decide to start barking until I opened my show today. So I apologize for that. Lots of apologies going out today, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there. I want to thank my sponsors, MrCreditRepair.biz, the Tax Mama, Eva Rosenberg at TaxMama.com, and of course, Biz Social Personal Touch, where you can get wonderful items like this mug, which is personalized, and you can send it to people like your sales leads, but he's got some really cool stuff. So check John out. And remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Have a great weekend.